welcome to Switzerland, and we've been hearing that the empire has been quite busy lately, landing in Switzerland.
Yeah.
A lot of long drives. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
There's one question everybody is asking for, and that is if you finally found the droids you've been looking for.
Yes, no, I don't know.
I feel like the search is always...
Yeah, the search is always ongoing.
Yeah.
Still going.
We're trying to rid the galaxy of all rebel droids.
Okay, so, and if you get rid of them, if you get hold of them, is anything planned, like probably
they're droids.
I think if we ever catch one, it would be
guitar
nice
roadie
to
or something like that. I don't know.
dismantle one on stage or something. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
We can use their
Just
technology.
integrate on stage.
Disintegrate them.
Maybe we can use their technology to make our computer work better.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have any problems with your...
We have a lot of technical difficulties.
Every day there's some weird technical difficulty we have to troubleshoot, but we're getting through it, so.
That's probably something that's always going on tour, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Always problems popping up that were not planned, right?
But you know what? Thinking outside the box and troubleshooting is all kind of a part of it, I think, and problem solving.
And I think I understand you guys have your own music production studio, so you probably used to get problems solved.
Yes.
On an everyday basis, isn't it?
It's a little bit different in a studio environment.
Of course.
Got a little less pressure, whereas live, we had issues with our computer today. So if we have issues live, we only have a certain amount of time with which we can work with. We were
in a festival in summer, and you guys probably in Opeth did the headliner show in Slovenia on the festival. And it was like 40 minutes, totally blackout. Everybody was waiting.
Oh,
and they were not telling anything,
Right.
And the crowd was leaving, and it was
awful. Wow.
But just came to my mind.
Technical stuff always sucks. But hopefully.
They could have been scrambling and didn't have time to tell the crowd what was going on because they were so worried about fixing it.
I think it was sort of that the guitarist then started, maybe after 10 minutes, he started just like improvising guitar solos to keep the crowd there. But it was sort of things happen, right?
Yeah.
So let's get to the real question, the real deal, right? I told you just 10 minutes ago, I heard this podcast you did probably in August or something. I can't remember the name of the website it was published on, but got a sort of a little bit background information, how you guys were approaching for this Star Wars themed band.
Yep.
And I understood you just worked everything up from the start, just from the original soundtrack of John Williams, of the CDs.
Yes.
That's what you did. And I was wondering, apart from that appears to me as a not really a music professional, quite impressive. And I remember you guys telling it was a hell of a lot of work to do.
It was a lot of work.
How can maybe someone who is not into music production or writing or something like that, can you give a brief description of what kind of process that is, or how you just sit down and writing down musical notes, or how can you imagine?
Well, I took the score, say the Imperial March, the song you hear on the CD, I would pull it into the computer and find the beats, find every downbeat of the orchestra, and I edited the orchestra to a grid, so it was to a metronome, and from there just kind of listened through to small sections. Sometimes I would put them on a loop and kind of listen to all the different things going on, and put this part here, and kind of record each little part one at a time and arrange it, and find the rhythm parts, find the lead parts, and put them where they go. And then we had a very good demo of what the entire album should sound like.
Okay.
And then from there we went back and actually recorded the entire thing again, but with more detail and more expressive playing and precision. Yeah.
Your sort of your own interpretation of the whole thing, right?
Well, the interesting thing about it is that we actually, aside from the drum parts that Grant wrote, that are original drum parts that go along with the whole piece, we didn't change anything. So all of the music is the exact same as it is in the original score, only played on guitars.
Yeah, every section
Grant's
is
drums
represented.
So the drums are the only thing that isn't actually in the original music. But the process was pretty... it was very time-consuming because, like Grant said, we had to go through kind of just like bar by bar and listen to everything that was going on in the orchestra. And for most of it, we only had, a stereo recording of the orchestra that we had to listen to and try to decipher, because an orchestra is arranged a lot different than metal music or rock music in that most of the time if you're in a metal band, you've got bass, drums, guitar, But this is like different things happening in different octaves and different sections of the orchestra. So how do you represent, the violins over here? How do you represent horns over here? And we just kind of figured out, what would be more of the lead guitar parts and what would be more of the rhythm parts, and then what would kind of fill out everything in between. And we ended up with this massive session of like 40 guitar tracks, and it was just incredibly complex and a lot of tracks, very tough to mix, but pretty much everything in it is the original score. We didn't change anything, so we wanted to keep it as true to the original vibe and the whole sound and the feel of it as possible.
Yeah. So the actual impression of course this is Star Wars, but it sounds a little bit different.
Right.
It's just as a matter of fact that all the instruments are actual metal instruments.
Yeah, it's just the songs sort of sound and feel different just by nature of the instruments that they're being played on, and by nature of the musicians who played it. I mean, we all grew up playing heavy music, and so
obviously,
right. So I mean, and classical music I think lends itself to metal pretty well. There's a lot of neoclassical based metal out there already. So. Like I said, everything feels and sounds a bit different from the original just because, it's being played in a different style, but all of the notes that are being played are played in the orchestra as well. So there's a lot of sort of elitist metalheads who criticize us for putting breakdowns in Star Wars music, but we didn't put them there. John Williams did. You know what I mean? We just put a drum part in there to accent it. So it's not our fault. John Williams wrote a breakdown.
I think you did an incredible job.
Thank you.
I'm not a music professional, but it really comes down to being Star Wars played metal.
Right.
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Just what would the Star Wars soundtrack sound like if it was played by a metal band? That's it.
I mean, people don't have to be classical composers to enjoy the original pieces. So you don't have to be a musical professional or a musician or somebody who understands the complexity of it to enjoy what we do. You what I mean.
You can just assume as you try to explain how much of the work probably was. Well, great. So you guys now have the experience to have it's not really correct to say you have it rewritten, but you know what I mean. The process you just mentioned.
We arranged it. Yes.
You arranged it. Exactly. Thank you. Thanks for helping me out.
Call it a John Williams tribute band.
Yeah.
And John Williams and Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that being said, could you imagine to have a project like going vice versa? Just probably if you would get asked to write a score for a science fiction movie, would that be something that you guys be interested in? Or
why not?
I would love to do something like that.
I've always loved the idea of. I actually went to film school for a number of years when I was younger, and really into filmmaking my whole life. So, film scoring is something I've always been, intrigued by. I've never actually done any of it, but it's something that is, something I want to definitely get into at some point. So yeah, that would be.
Is it something you sort of approach, or is it something we just did? If some offer comes around, we'll think about it, or we would be like, wow, that's great. Or,
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where Grant and I run a studio. That's our regular job, and this project kind of just grew, into itself in our downtime, and it's one of those things. We get so busy so often with just our regular day-to-day recording that it's hard to sit down and actually just compose something for yourself for your own enjoyment. And we try to do that, from time to time, just to, because we're both creative people, and you want to write music for yourself and everything. But I think at some point I would love to actually sit down and write a bunch of like cinematic, instrumental music.
There's always things like 5-year plans or ideas. You don't have to do it tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Or next
year. It's just something that I've always been interested in. So hopefully we can get into that at some point.
That would be great. It's not on my regular thing, but I understood you guys are already working for like a second CD or another.
Pre-pro's done. The pre-production.
Okay, it's quite far already.
Yeah, all the new songs are demoed out. Grant knocked those out while they were working on a record in Australia.
Yeah.
So similar process.
I heard that on the podcast as well. Yeah.
But yeah, we're just trying to get the schedule. Figure out when we're going to get into the studio to actually record all of it.
And is it like, are you putting one song from there, or doing like an episode 6 soundtrack or something? Or
I just found out there's something
more Star Wars music. There are so many great themes throughout the entire series, and there's so many movies at this point, and there's a lot of stuff from Episode 7 that is really great music that John Williams wrote, and other things from earlier movies that we didn't touch on yet. It's very interesting, and it's even more complicated somehow than the first album, in its complexity and just its ridiculous technical, metal nature. Like it's definitely a step. It's a step up in terms of technicality and craziness, but I think it'll be great. I think it's going to be, it's going to be
faster and heavier and louder.
Pretty much.
Yeah. The first one was all the hits. You know what I mean? All the iconic stuff, main theme, Imperial March, Force Theme, all that kind of stuff. So we took care of all of the big crowd favorites already, pretty much, more or less. So
it's your guys' turn.
Yeah, pretty much. Just whatever we want to do.
Okay.
But there's still so many repeating motifs, throughout all the songs. Like, you hear parts of other pieces of the score get revisited in other, themes, and it all kind of blends together. And John Williams is just like he writes music in such an interesting way, and it's never, it's never boring, so, and there's so much Star Wars material to go through and pick from. So I think we made a pretty great, selection of a new batch of songs for the next record. Hopefully we can get in the studio soon and record it.
Sounds exciting. What I was wondering also is, as you are sort of covering John Williams' original soundtrack, are there any sort of copyright legal issues, something you have to take care of beforehand? Does Lucas or Williams or Disney or whoever know of you guys? Did you have to make contracts or something like that?
Fortunately, the record label helps us take care of all the necessary mechanical licenses that we need to cover and sell the music. If you cover a song and you don't charge money for it, then that's perfectly fine. But if you charge a price for it, then if you obtain the proper mechanical license from the publishing company, which in this case John Williams would be Time Warner and Bantha Music, they receive their mechanical royalty every time we sell a song or a record, and the label was helpful in taking care of that.
Yeah, that's actually, surprisingly, that was actually the easy part, the music.
Okay.
Just from the legality standpoint, because it's a simple mechanical payment that you make, a mechanical license payment. The hard part about this band is the costumes, actually. And I don't know if you've ever seen any footage or photos of us playing live before, but our costumes are somewhat altered. They're different, and that was for two reasons. First, it's one thing to cover music and pay the publishing owner to cover that, and that's kind of an easy, common thing that's done. But it's another, and again, it's like easy to have the music videos have the original costumes from the movie, like the screen accurate costumes, because we're not making money off the music videos. We haven't monetized them. So the hard part is when we start charging people to buy tickets to get into a show where we're dressed up like characters that are owned by Disney. So to circumvent that, and we've never heard anything from Disney, and several music videos released, each have several million views. They've gotten a lot of exposure, and we haven't heard a word from them.
Neither positive nor negative.
No, just radio silence. And we've even tried to contact them and stuff, but it seems like they don't.
We've got ourselves protected in the right areas.
So as far as the costumes go, and the intellectual property issue of charging people to get into a show to see us play while dressed in Disney's IP, what we've done, first of all, those costumes are impossible to play in. So we needed to modify them anyway to be able to.
One thing I was going to ask you.
Yeah, they're completely impossible to play in. They work for a music video shoot because you don't actually play for real in a music video. You just sync up to the playback because the camera people need to edit it all together anyway. So, to actually play for real at a show, we needed to completely redo costumes so that we could actually move around and see in them and everything. And the other thing that we did is we redesigned them a little bit. We had a really great British fantasy artist named James Hayball redesign the look of the helmets and some of the costume stuff to alter it a little bit so they're our own unique characters, but they're still the vibe of each character. So
everybody knows it's Star Wars.
My Stormtrooper helmet obviously isn't a screen accurate Stormtrooper helmet, but it still looks like a Stormtrooper. That's kind of the idea.
Okay.
So they're parody characters, we've done that, and so far no worries.
Just did it before him to make sure there was
preemptively.
We didn't want to. We've always been very careful with this band since we started it, and we've consulted lots of different IP lawyers, and we've done research and all that stuff, and we're doing things completely legally. So
what can we do?
We just want to avoid any potential conflict, because we know that Disney, if Disney sues you, you're done. So it's like, but so far, no one seems to care.
We're also not really interested in ruffling any feathers. I mean, we're all huge fans of what they do and everything. So,
and this isn't like it's not like a money making, and we're doing this because we love Star Wars and we love metal.
Fans as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun thing to do. We all have regular jobs and stuff. It's just that we're passionate about the music and we're having a blast doing this and playing. So that's really what it's about at the end of the day for us.
Yeah. When you just mentioned the costumes, I was just of course looking at the music videos. You just mentioned that you don't actually play on the videos. I was just wondering, with the gloves and the helmet and everything, how is that just?
Yeah, we don't play
possible at all.
We don't play with the gloves live. No. The original costumes, as Carson said, are literally impossible to play in. Especially the Darth Vader costume is very multi-layered, heavy, cumbersome, hot.
But you're a strong guy, right?
When you spend like 8 hours in that costume shooting a music video, it's tough. So, and they're screen accurate in appearance, but they're not the real expensive, like what's technically considered the real deal costumes. Those are very, very expensive. So, and they're only meant to be sort of really good Halloween costumes. You're supposed to wear them outside for a couple of hours while your kid goes and gets candy, and that's it. Whereas, so they begin to fall apart, and it's kind of a nightmare. So, but we wear the original stuff and the gloves and stuff just to have the characters in the videos because that's what's going to get people's attention.
We also thought it was kind of funny to have the gloves on in the music video because you obviously can't play guitar in gloves.
But you'd be sitting. I mean, we're
the Galactic Empire. We use the Force.
Right. Yeah. Even to this day, though, we still get comments.
The guitar was just moving by itself, right?
Yeah.
It's become a joke in the comments on the videos online. Like, why are they wearing gloves?
Yeah. So
thought it was hilarious. So we still wore the gloves in the second video.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. So many people still comment and ask, like people trying to call us out or something like that, like thinking that they're making this big exposure, this big discovery. You can't play guitar. Yeah, of course we can't play guitar in gloves. It's impossible. You know what I mean? So, no, we don't use the gloves live or anything. The costumes are much easier to move and see and breathe in. They still present their own set of challenges, but they're nothing.
Yeah, it's still not easy, but
they're nowhere near as difficult as the originals.
Okay. I guess it has to do with breathing, and we don't sing actually, but you have to get your air right.
Yeah,
that sort of the stuff you altered on your. Yeah.
Well, the way that the helmets are designed, there are actually holes in pretty much each of the front of the helmets that you can breathe through, and then I've also put fans, like little PC fans, inside the helmets that are controlled by a USB battery. So one fan sucks air into the helmet, and the other fan sucks air out of the helmet on the other side. So it keeps your visor from fogging up, and just a lot of little cosplay tricks that we've learned over the past year because we made these costumes completely DIY.
Okay.
I mean, except for the design, which was done by James Hagel.
Yeah. Okay. Impressive. One thing I was also wondering or asking myself, you guys have been in other bands before, right? Several bands, like Century, right?
Yeah. Both of us have been in that.
Yeah, and I was wondering, as you're doing a soundtrack tribute thing, there's actually no lyrics and no singing.
No.
You have been in bands before where you did singing.
Yeah.
You did, right? So, what's about that sort of topic? Do you feel like this is a sort of limitation, or is it just a relief to don't have to sing? Or is there something coming up maybe in the future?
I just think that for the theme of this band being what it is, I think if we tried to do any kind of vocal, aside from like choir parts that are actually in the original soundtrack, which we recreated like for Duel of Fates, which is on that album, and then there's some choir parts in Battle of the Heroes and here and there little things, but it would be, and people sometimes ask online, like, are you ever going to consider, putting vocals to this? And I'm not sure I see how that would work.
The original songs didn't need it.
Ours, I mean, this it's supposed to be the whole.
Doesn't fit the topic, right?
Yeah, I mean, it would just be kind of random, I think, if we tried to put vocals over it, and it would also, be very limiting in the number of people who could really enjoy it because. I just think there's an appeal to not messing with the soundtrack too much. We didn't want to change anything.
Yeah,
exactly.
The songs,
rightfully so.
As a Star Wars fan and as a metal fan myself, if I were not in this band and I heard this, I would want it to be instrumental. I think it would be weird if there were vocals because they would just be arbitrary.
There's no room for them.
Yeah,
there's too much going on.
John Williams painted each scene with like a feeling or an emotion, and I think that is enough to capture everything that you need out of the song, and it's just the pieces are complete as they are. I think we feel.
Yeah.
So that's what you said. Just like doesn't fit the topic.
It just wouldn't work with our format. We're an instrumental band.
So you probably say yourself, okay, if I'm ever gonna want to write lyrics again or sing again, that would be another project.
Different project.
Unless if we have enough of a budget to have a full choir, perform Duel of the Fates with us live, then we would. That would be awesome. Okay.
I just told Christian. Do you know the probably not? There's an old Roman theater in Bulgaria, a lot of it, where in recent years, bands like Paradise Lost or let me see, Open Anathema and something, they actually performed with the symphonic orchestra. There was just a truck on the highway just before us. I was writing here and I told him the story. That's of course maybe something to grab for in the future. I don't know.
I think that could be awesome.
Yeah, would be great. We could give another touch to the whole formula, right?
Mm-hmm.
Funny, okay. Just recently read on your Facebook that you guys did shoot another music video.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. We just shot one.
It's coming up in a few months probably.
Yeah, it's being edited right now.
Is there something like a small glimpse that you can give to our viewers, readers?
We have some pictures on our iPhones.
Or is he looking for just some information, maybe?
I don't
know.
It's we don't want to give away too much about what happens in the video.
That's
because
just asking maybe just a little glimpse, I don't want you to pull down your pants.
It's definitely the most ridiculous one that we've done.
It's going to be the most off the wall video for sure.
More self-ironic fun.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be funny.
Okay, that's something I like.
More production value. It's more elaborate. There's something of a storyline behind it.
We have a perfect release date for it. I will say that it's pretty evident. I think what day we would choose, but
yeah. So
I can imagine what probably would be okay.
Yeah, and there's of course.
Here's a picture of on no background green screen.
Okay.
So we had a lot of other people. A lot of cosplay enthusiasts and things like that.
Yeah, we shot some practical locations in a forest with a bunch of stormtroopers and some, there's another still.
Okay, so you've got some cosplay fans or people.
We actually have a lot of people in this video. It's going to be cool. I don't want to say who is going to be in the video yet, but definitely some stormtroopers in the woods. And again, we shot on a green screen, same way that we did the last two videos. So all of the background environment is going to be computer generated image, and so that's the performance. But there's a lot more that goes on in the video that I'm really excited about, and I think that it's going to be pretty funny. I think people like it.
So it sounds to me like there's definitely something to look forward to, right?
Absolutely. I think people who are familiar.
In the forest looks fun.
Yeah, we got a great. We got a great director involved this time. Before, we just kind of did the direction and production ourselves in terms of all the creative stuff going on. And this time around, we actually got an outside director named Scott Hansen, who's done a lot of music videos for our record label, Rise Records. And he's great. He's got a lot of really good ideas and a great eye. And we wanted to get a different kind of vibe in this video, a different flavor than the last two videos. So I'm really excited about how, what he did and how it's coming out. We've seen a rough edit so far with no effects in it, and it already looks amazing. So
now I'm even more excited.
It's going to be great. I'm excited about it too.
Yeah, great.